Friend, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. I'm Rabbi Londy of the New Reformed Temple. I'm with Becky and Nathan Bliss on this evening, and we are delighted to welcome our New Reformed Temple community and everyone else who is sharing in our wonderful service. And the reality is people are sharing all over the country. You even have some people outside the United States who share in our services, which delights us. But wherever you are, we welcome you into this moment and really hour of prayer and reflection. It's an honor every week to share services with you, and everyone who participates can get a taste of the New Reformed Temple. Just one note, we, as everyone I think is aware at this moment, we are in the middle of a renovation of our congregation that will, God willing, and very soon be open for occupation and for worship. And it's really exciting. And I was there the other day, and I started imagining what worship was going to be like there. And I was thinking, where are Becky and Nathan going to stand? How is it going to be different? We're just really excited. It's going to be beautiful, our normal services, but it'll be really challenging and interesting for us to create something new in that space. Yeah. I think about this all the time. Becky, Nathan, and I, we haven't processed that completely, but we're thinking about that. We love our services, but how would that new place impact what we do individually, what we do together? So that's a great journey that we're about to take. But now, in this small little studio that we have, we're going to share with you Shabbat. So let's turn in our Sidurim to Shalom Aleichem, that is found on page 6. Okay. We are going to continue with the lighting of our Shabbat candles, and on page 7, let us read responsively. Come, let us welcome Shabbat. May its radiance warm our hearts as we kindle these tapers. Light is a symbol of God's presence in our lives. The Eternal One is our light and our salvation. Light is a symbol of the holiness within each of us. The human spirit is the light of God. Light is a symbol of the Torah's teachings, for the commandment is a lamp, and the Torah is a light. Light is a symbol of Israel's mission, as it is written, I have made you a covenant people to serve as a light to the nations. Therefore, in the spirit of our ancient tradition, that hallows, unites Israel in all lands and all ages, we kindle the lights of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We praise our eternal God, creator of the universe, who hallows our lives through laws and ethical teachings. We are mindful of these timeless values as we kindle the lights of Shabbat. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. We are going to continue now in our service as for those who have a Siddur prayer book. We continue on page 36 as we rise for the Baruch Hu. On page 37, let me begin at the top of the page. Ever-living God, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of the earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify of your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, your glory will never depart from us. Help us to be your partners that we may endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. We read together, all goodness and truth come from you, O God. May no transgressions estrange us from you, nor self-centeredness darken our vision of your purposes. Help us to recognize that which is just and more fully understand your will. In adversity and in prosperity, may the light of Torah illuminate our path. May we labor in your service so that our deeds become a living hymn of praise to you. We join together on the top of page 38. Infinite as is your power, even so is your love. It may be seen through the history of our people Israel, through laws and ethical precepts, through statutes and ordinances. You have led us in the ways of righteousness and brought us to the light of truth. Therefore, at our lying down and our rising up, we will meditate on the Torah's teachings, finding within it the inspiration and guidance for our daily lives. May your love never depart from our hearts. We praise you, God. You have revealed your love through our people Israel. We continue with Ahavat Olam on page 38.
Ahavat Olam.
Let us continue on page 39 with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivon, Shem Kivon Malchuto, Le'olam, Le'olam, Amen. Yushalom, eternal God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And as we talk about you this day, shall be upon your heart, you shall reach down, living through your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house. When you are by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up, you shall find for a sign from your hand, and they shall be as before your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates, that you may remember and all my command, and be holy, holy to your
On page 42, let us read these verses responsively. In truth, the Eternal One alone is our Redeemer. God is the refuge of the oppressed, the deliverer of the persecuted. Let us praise the eternal God who gives rest to the weary and hope to the despondent. Let us ever acknowledge God as our Creator and hold fast to the Torah. Blessed is Shabbat, the Queen of Days, which offers to our people enrichment of the soul. Even more than Israel has kept the Sabbath, so the Sabbath has kept our people Israel. How blessed are those who observe Shabbat, who sanctify it with prayer, with study, and with friendship. Let us rejoice in our eternal God and delight in the heritage of our people. May our homes be filled with light and gladness. May our hearts be steadfast, trusting in the Eternal One. The love of God is our strength. Let us continue with Mi Chamocha. Page 44. As the Sabbath descends, it enfolds us in its mantle of peace. It brings to us the precious gift of time. Time to embrace family and friends, to reflect more deeply on the meaning and purpose of our lives, and to worship in the beauty of holiness. May every Shabbat be for us a sanctuary of love and devotion, bringing contentment to our hearts, happiness to our homes, and blessings to our people. Together, those who celebrate Shabbat and call it a delight rejoice in your creation. All who hallow the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, a symbol of the joy of creation. We continue on page 45 as we rise for the Amidah.
Baruch atah
We continue on page 48, and let us read these paragraphs responsively. God calls our people Israel to be of service. May we fulfill this charge by exemplifying the Torah's ideals with all those we encounter in our daily lives. May we have the grace to fulfill our mission with enthusiasm and with joy, always tempered by wisdom and guided by respect for other people's faith and ideals. May our actions attest to the strength of our convictions. May our conduct towards our neighbors, our faithfulness in every sphere of duty, our compassion for those in need, and our patience under trial show that the one whose law we obey is indeed the God of all goodness, the loving creator of all people. This teaches us that to serve God is perfect freedom, and to worship God the soul's purest delight. May our eyes and minds always be open so that we may see and welcome all truth, whether shining from the wisdom of ancient revelations or reaching us through the prophets of our own time. For God continues to shed light on every generation that seeks the guidance of the Eternal One. The people of Israel shall preserve the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath in every generation. As a perpetual covenant, it is a sign between God and the people of Israel forever. We continue with Vishamru. We continue on page 49 as I read the paragraph in the top of the page. Grant, O God, that we may lie down in peace and that we may rise up again to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with wise counsel. Be as a shield about us, fortifying us against hatred and war, against pestilence and sorrow. Curb within us the inclination to do evil, and enfold us with the embrace of your love. Guide our going out and coming in to life and peace from this time forth and forever. We praise you, God, for you shelter us and all who dwell on earth. Let us continue with Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu,
Let us read together on page 51. We gratefully acknowledge that the eternal God is our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and the shield of our help. We thank God and sing praises for the gift of life itself, for our souls that are ever in God's keeping, for the signs of our Creator's presence that we encounter every day, and for God's wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Truly our blessings are without end, and God's loving kindness never ceases. Therefore do we forever put our trust in the Eternal One. Let us conclude the Amidah with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Le'olam. Ki Ata U'Bechadon Bechol HaShalom. Ki Ata U'Bechadon Bechol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Le'olam. B'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Hasim Le'olam. Hasim Le'olam.
Let us continue with some moments of private reflection. Friends, let us turn back in our Seder Ream to page 10. Just trying to calculate the time. 700 years ago, there was this incredible spiritual presence, leader, creator, named Isaac Luria. He lived in this great city of Tzfat. And he developed this idea in Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism that the world was broken and that we were called upon, each and every one of us, to take those shards of that which is broken and somehow to liberate those shards, those pieces of brokenness, to bring God's Spirit into the world, to bring God's presence into the world. And when we do the Mishaberach, the prayer for healing, I think about that. I think about the fact that there's brokenness that's all over the world, in our immediate world, in our general world, and in the universe. And one of the things that we pray for is that God will help us to remove those broken pieces and to bring some holiness and wholeness into this world. And it's especially relevant when we think about those who are ill and the sense of brokenness that they feel, and those who take care of them, the sense of tiredness and even frustration. So that is our coming together here to recite Mishaberach. I hope that in a world that sometimes seems broken, we can express our love of God and for each other, and therefore to create healing and hope. So let us continue with Mishaberach on page 10.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with the refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Adonai Shuri V'Go'ari. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you. Eternal God, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom, Miramah. Oh, yeah, I'll say shalom.
Friend, Shabbat Shalom again to all of you, and I thank you for the opportunity to share some words of Torah with you this evening. Bill Gothard is an evangelical Christian minister who is the founder of the Institute in Basic Life Principles. He created an intriguing list of 49 character traits that, if you develop all of them, lead to a person of good character. And if you want access to that list, send me an email and I can send you the link to his website. One of those qualities, one of those 49 characteristics is quite relevant in making sense of our Torah reading for this Shabbat. It is number 12, which is dependability. Fulfilling, as he defines it, fulfilling what I consented to do, even if it means unexpected sacrifice. It's really like this. Fulfilling what I consented to do, even if it means unexpected sacrifice. Moses teaches us this value in our reading. At the very end of the book of Genesis, the death of Joseph is recorded, and one of the promises that he extracts from his brothers is that he does not want to be permanently buried in Egypt. He believes that the future redemption will take place, and when it happens, he wants his remains taken out of Egypt. So the Torah records, Joseph said to his brothers, I am about to die. God will surely take notice of you and bring you up from the land to the land that he promised an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, when God has taken notice of you, you shall carry my bones from here. Joseph dies at the age of 110 years, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. That's all we know. We jump 450 years to our portion. Moses is leading the people out of Egypt, and we read one verse. One verse. And Moses took with him the bones of Joseph, who had exacted an oath from the children of Israel, saying, God will be sure to take notice of you. Then you shall carry up my bones from here with you. We often overlook this one verse in the story, and that is a mistake. While the Israelites were preparing for the journey of liberation, collecting the precious items that they had received from the Egyptians, gathering the livestock that was in their possession, Moses needed to fulfill this 450-year-old promise. He did it on behalf of the Jewish people. He had to keep the word of the Jewish people. We don't even know how he knew of the promise. We can only speculate, but that was his focus on the eve of the Exodus. But where was Joseph's coffin? In an ancient book of rabbinic legends known as Devarim Rabbah, there is a beautiful description of Moses keeping his word to Joseph. The Midrash, the rabbinic legend, describes that Moses was looking for Joseph's bones, running around Egypt for 3 days and 3 nights. He looked in every dark corner for the bones of Joseph because the Jewish people had made a promise. And after 3 days and 3 nights, he was exhausted, whereupon a special woman, Serach, found him and informed him that she knew where the bones of Joseph could be found. This mysterious woman took him to the bank of the Nile River. She told Moses to look at the dark water of the Nile because this is where Joseph was buried. She told Moses that Pharaoh's advisors and magicians and political leaders buried Joseph's casket deep within the Nile River and attached 5,000 weights to keep him deep within the river's surface. And why did they do that? As long as Joseph's bones remained buried and hidden, the Israelite people would not be able to keep their promise and therefore could not leave. Upon hearing this, Moses became very distraught and started pacing back and forth at the river's bank. And he shouted, "Joseph, Joseph, the Israelite people are ready to march towards freedom. The compassionate one has freed us from slavery, but you are holding us up." At this moment, the casket of Joseph floated to the top of the river, and Moses took Joseph's casket along with the 5,000 weights. He flung it over his shoulder and marched out of Egypt through the splitting of the sea towards freedom. Moses had kept the oath made generations before. He did it in the darkness of night without fanfare. He didn't do it to be popular. It was because this had to be done. Legend goes on to tell us even more about Moses' faithfulness, that Moses ensured that the coffin be carried right along with the Ark of the Covenant in the 40 years of wandering. Imagine the image of that. The 10 Commandments, the tablets in the Ark, but also the bones of Joseph standing besides. Now, this is only a legend from the deep recesses of the Jewish imagination. But it speaks to the essence of Judaism. Judaism, in my opinion, is not a faith tradition. It's a promise tradition. The Israelites could not go forward unless they honored the past. In Judaism, the past, present, and future are interwoven and all need to be affirmed. The connection between the generations is essential to who we are. This, to me, is what keeps us going as Jews. Our lives as Jews are about fulfilling a promise that our ancestors made thousands of years ago, a promise made for us. When Moses is about to die at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, he addresses the Jewish people and says, and I quote, "I made this covenant with its sanctions not with you alone, but both with those who are standing here with us this day before the Lord, and with those who are not with us here this day." In effect, the agreement we made with God will be fulfilled in the future by those not yet born. Now, what does this statement mean to me? My Judaism is not rooted in whether I believe in God or not. I spend no time contemplating that. It is rooted in my connection to my people and its history and its traditions. I was born into a covenant with God that I did not make. I'm a member of a people that I did not select. I inherited a tradition that I did not choose. And yet, as a Jew, I have promised that I proudly will fulfill this. I will fulfill to honor my tradition, to receive and to study the sacred texts of people written by generations before me, to feel a special sense of loyalty and solidarity with the Jewish people that is 3,500 years old, to be connected to a land which was promised to Abraham and thus promised to me, to live a Jewish life which keeps me connected to the generations before me, to make sure that my children and grandchildren grow up feeling that same way, which they never made, but still needs to be fulfilled. I am the sum total of the promises that have been made and have been made for me. I am a Jew because my great-great-great-grandparents were Jews, and they lived a Jewish life in Eastern Europe, and they expected that this tradition would continue by those who were not yet born. I am a Jew because when I sat at the Passover Seder in my grandmother's house, and I saw my grandfather leading it, and my grandmother cooking it, I was making a promise that this tradition would continue, and I didn't need to say a word. And my children are linked to that promise because they experienced me fulfilling the promise. And if I fail to keep this tradition going, I'm making my great-great-great-grandparents liars. I have let them down, and this is intolerable to me. And here's one of the things that my daughter said was her fondest memory growing up. She remembers as a child, when I was a rabbi in Florida, standing there every year as I opened the boxes that contained the lulavs and etrogs for Sukkot. You know, the palm branch, the myrtle, the willows, the citron that you put together and you wave in multiple directions. And what was the impression it made on her? That this was important to me. And she felt important by helping me. I didn't need to say anything, and she didn't need to say anything, but that was a moment when the unspoken promise was made, Daddy, I must do this with my own children. My entire rabbinical life really comes down to trying to convince people that keeping this promise is valuable, it is essential, it is holy, it is godly. That our ancestors were not fools, that they created something glorious, that they had something that was worth projecting into the future that we inherit. And just like Moses could not go forward without Joseph's bones, we cannot go forward without taking our heritage with us. And it's not easy. It's a struggle. But Judaism matters. The survival of the Jewish people matters for us in the world. I pray that is what you feel, or at least that is something you struggle with. And for those of us who converted to Judaism, you are part of this promise as well, because when you converted, your name became son or daughter of Abraham our father and Sarah our mother. Abraham and Sarah, the patriarchs of our people, that is who you are linked to. You are part of the promise in the most fundamental way, which goes back to the very beginning of our people. Thank you, Moses, for showing us the way. By bringing Joseph's casket out of Egypt, you showed us that we must be promise keepers. We are not in the world only for ourselves. We cannot be the sole definers of who we are. There are affirmations that are demanded of us, pledges that we must keep, that reaches back into history. May the example of Moses and the promise that he kept inspire us in our time and in the future times to be serious and dedicated to our sacred tradition. Amen. So let us continue in our service on page 368. It was going to be 86 or 68. You know, when the Messiah comes, I'm going to get it right.
Or maybe not.
Maybe not.
I'll be here.
Page 368.
Let us adore the everlasting God. We offer praise unto you. The spread of the heavens and established in earth. Your glory to be heaven above, and your greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are God, there is none else.
We join together on page 369. May the time not be distant, O God, when you shall be worshipped throughout the earth, when unbelief shall disappear and error be no more. Fervently we pray that the day may come when all people shall be guided by your teachings. Corruption and evil shall give way to purity and goodness. Superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Then all who dwell on earth shall know that to you alone every knee shall bend and every voice give praise. May all created in your image recognize that we are brothers and sisters, so that one in spirit and one in harmony be forever united before you. Then shall your reign be established on earth, and the word of your ancient prophet be fulfilled. The eternal God will reign forever and ever. On that day, the eternal shall be one, and God's name shall be one. Friends, at this moment in our service, we are mindful of the memory of many people that are part of the collective memory of our people and of our congregation. The yurtsites that we remember this evening are Maurice Brown, Dorothy Fromm, Dorothy Goldman, Philip Halprin, Sally Herman, S. Harvey Lehner, Dick Levin, Stuart Levine, Maurice Miller, Violet Oppenheimer, Jacob Reichert, Betty Rosen, Esther Rubin, Lena Siegel, Gertrude Seit, Robert Stanley Seit Sr., Stephen Walter, Lois Wiener, Meta Baum Westheimer, Norma Westheimer, and June Wolfe. We are mindful in the last 30 days of the passing of Adam Kurnow, Margaret Schoenfeld, and Sheila Ween. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith that links the generations of the house of Israel one to another, we join together on page 375, and if you're able to, we ask you to rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yomah divrach chirutei v'yamlich machutei, b'chayechon uvyamechon uvchayedecho beit Yisrael, b'galav izman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivorach leolam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'yomah v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us and all Israel, and on all the world, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Our Shabbat Flower Fund has received donations in memory of Sally Herman by Jolie Herman and Pat Kurnow, in memory of Richard Levin by John and Ann Brendel, Michael and Diane Levin, Nancy Levin and Jeff Flora, in memory of Maurice Miller by Linda and Michael Browdy, in memory of Jacob Reichert by Barbara Marmer and Joe Haydu, in memory of Nina Siegel by David Goodman, and in memory of Stephen Walter by Patty Chasnoff. A couple of important announcements or reminders. We are going to continue with our Shabbat services virtually until the opening of our congregation, the new building, which we look forward to. Torah study will continue as it does every week at 9 a.m. on Shabbat morning, and if you'd like to participate, we'd ask you to contact the congregation office, and they will send you the link and we'll put you on our email mailing list. Schmooze with a Rabbi continues every week. If you want to be part of that as well, call the office and we'll put you on an email blast. We had an extremely exciting discussion. For some reason, they're getting more lively.
Mhm.
I mean,
Are they boozing the rabbi? No.
there is no booth. Well, wait a minute. There is one person who drinks cheap bourbon.
Hey.
That's what he says. He says, I said, what are you drinking? He says, cheap bourbon. I don't know alcohol at all. So I don't know what cheap bourbon is versus good bourbon, but that's what it is. So there people can imbibe if they want.
And schmooze and booze with the rabbi.
Yeah. I'm just sitting there, maybe drinking a little bit of coffee, but you have a beverage of choice.
This is sounding more fun.
You could come on,
I should.
and you should like share your wisdom. Your perspective on religion would probably blow people away. But we don't really talk about religion. We talk about anything, everything and anything. We're going to see if this young man comes on one of these weeks. I'm putting you on the list.
Okay, do it.
You're not you're not under any pressure. We have a very active social justice committee chaired by Susie Block, and we have many activities, including tutoring. And if you want more information about the social justice committee and things that we do, or ideas about what things that we should do, we can connect you with Susie Block. So that's what I'm doing this evening. Do you have any announcements, my friends?
So excited about space getting completed here soon.
Yeah, it's going to be, as I said, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. I
Different
mean,
places.
you guys play in different venues, and we've never talked about it. I'm sure the venue affects what you do.
Sure. Yeah, the sound of the room is.
Isn't it just the sound, the feel, the lights,
Yeah.
and when it's all going to be different, it's very exciting.
Can't wait.
But it's humbling too, because it is a new reality, and I think what's going to happen is people are going to come and have a certain experience of it. We're going to have a certain experience. The experience we create together will be different. I just think it's exciting, and it's a much bigger space for the Onik Shabbat too. So that will, if nothing else, that will
Bigger
make
spread.
and we're gonna have to improve the spread.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
And
spread
Becky,
the-
and this is not a sexist thing because I don't know what you're capable of, but Becky has tremendous baking skills.
She actually is an amazing chef.
I mean, so one Shabbat, we're gonna call upon her to do that.
Nathan's really good.
No, but I will do it too.
I'll bring a
And
little
I will
syrup
do it too, and then after that's over, we'll get everything store bought. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait.
It'll be exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so page 437, Odevo Shalom Aleinu.
Odevo shalom aleinu. Odevo shalom aleinu. Odevo shalom aleinu. Odevo shalom aleinu. Odevo shalom aleinu. Odevo shalom aleinu. Shalom aleinu. Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to everyone. We thank you for being part of our worship. Thank you for creating a community with us virtually, but in a very real way. And we look forward to sharing Shabbat with you next week. Shabbat Shalom.